You might have seen them all over the internet. Aria vent. These are these cool HVAC vents that actually add a little class to your system. What I like about these is you have your flooring fit down here, sits down into the floor or wall, and you've got a nice decorative way to do it. First off, let's talk about what my floor has, because I've got hardwood floors and these are real traditional, which means I've got 3/4 inch white oak here. So the first thing we gotta do for this tray here that slides out, this is what's cool about this, is I can actually remove this tray out of here. This is where I'm gonna put the finished flooring product. So we're gonna glue up some hardwoods to start, so we have something to put in there. So first, this is just raw, unfinished white oak. If you've got tile, if you got a pre-finished floor, luxury vinyl tile, anything else, this will do the same thing. You just have to put the appropriate flooring in there. So first off here, we're gonna start out and get some glue going here. And this is what's gonna really get us so we can start gluing it together. Clean the tip out, there we go. Let's get some yellow glue on this. I really want this to hold together. All right, I'll get this glued up here so we can get these clamped together. Now the secret is I just like using this yellow glue because it works really well. It stains up nice and it holds really well. So next up here, we're gonna clamp these together. I don't need to glue this end because that finished end doesn't matter. We're gonna cut that off. All right, let's get these together. You will get glue all over the place. I'm just gonna dry fit these here like this. I'm gonna get this clamped together. We'll fight it a little bit with these, but we're gonna clamp it together here and force it in. I'll show you. Having a good clamp is the secret to make these things go together. So we're gonna fit those. There we go. There we go. I want to get these as tight as possible in here. And sometimes what'll happen is, see how it's warping up like that. How I go about this is I'll take another clamp, come over here to the edge, and clamp it down flat. If I do that, that'll keep this flat. If you had a bigger piece, you can also go through and clamp a piece of wood across it, but this will get it there. And now I just have to let that dry. Give it about 24 hours. This will be dry in about a half hour, but I want it to really be strong before we start working on it. All right, now that we've got that glued up, you can see how hard this is. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's suitable for a floor. Now all you have to do is cut it down to the right size to fit into the vent. But next thing is, see, we have all these little cracks and holes. We're gonna fill that in. So there's two ways to actually do this. You can mix up some yellow glue and the sawdust from this and fill it with that, or you can just get a regular hardwood finish type flooring patch like this right here. This stuff here is what I used when I did my floors. And we're gonna actually just flood coat this whole top. All right, we're just gonna flood coat this whole thing, and I wanna fill this whole thing down. That way we can sand it all off. This is what they traditionally do for hardwood floors when they resurface them, because we want to get this as smooth as possible and fill in all the little pieces of this white oak right here. Clean off the edge here. Right now, if you clean this all off as much as you can of the stuff you're not going to need, it's just less that you have to sand off later. Now in about a half hour, that's dry and we can sand. All right, now this is all set up nice. It's filled in all the little holes. It's time to get the sander out. Now, one of the things here too that I want to say real quick, make sure you use the right grit on this. I'm going to start out with like an 80 grit and work my way up. Follow your stain instructions to make sure you're using the right grit before you stain. Let's do some sanding. Alrighty, now it's time to dust this off. Get all the sanding dust off of it. Apply some stain. All right, now this stain process is something you got to really follow the instructions on here. There's a couple things to be concerned about. One, it's going to go everywhere, which means it's going to soak into your skin, everything else. This is definitely a glove up moment. Now, the other part of this, is with this specific stain, and a lot of these stains that are oil-based, the danger is these can catch on fire. So what you want to do is make sure you deal with these correctly. So store your oily rags. These can spontaneously combust. So just don't throw these in the side. That's how you burn a house down. So you got to be really careful with this stuff, how you store when the project's done. Now, let's get some stain on here. We're going to wipe it on, let it set for a minute, wipe it off, and then let it dry. Let's make some mess. A little bit goes a long way. And it's going to look way darker than what you want, and that's okay, because we're going to remove a lot of this off of here. I'm going to get that really on there, and then I'm going to get the edges as well. Might as well do it right at this point. All right, now that I got that pretty well on there, let's give it about 5 minutes, and then we'll wipe it off and see how she looks. All right, time to take a clean rag and wipe this off and see how we look. I like to kind of make one big wipe across here and get the big chunk of it off first and get it off the edges. These edges really aren't going to be seen. I just like to have them protected in case water gets down there when you're cleaning the floor. The grain. All right, now we got a piece of wood that's stained. Let it dry, and it's time for some top coat. All right, it's time for some top coat here, and this is just a standard floor finish. It's what matches my floor. And the key is, I mean, you can use another clear coat, but you want something durable. So I'm using the same stuff that was on my floor originally because I had some left over. So I'm going to put a little bit in here like that. Get this out of the way. Put a couple coats of this. Get it on the brush nice, and it's time for some top coat. Get a nice coat on here. This is water-based, so it's a little bit different than the oil-based, but it's what I like using because it dries really fast. Gives a nice look. All right, that'll lay out really nice. Don't want to work it too much. Another coat of this, we'll have a finished piece of floor ready for event. All right, now we're going to start out with this. Here is our tray. This is that piece that snaps in. They've got these really cool little clips on the back. Make sure that test fits correctly. Yeah, we're good. So now this next thing is I can either put a couple screws in it or I can throw some adhesive down. I'm going to throw some adhesive down on this so that'll stick in there and I can really push it down and get it to the right level. Let's do it. I'm just using some construction adhesive here. Now I'm not going to take too much on this here because, to be honest, I want to be able to pull it off someday and swap it out. I can do that without creating a huge mess, but I want to be able to build this up enough to do it. Okay, we got enough glue down. Swap this over. Slide it in the tray. Okay, let's get that down there. I want this to be flush. There we go. Now that's set. Let this dry. It's time to install a really cool Aria vent. As you can see, my air vent needed a little love. This thing was pretty ugly. It's time to take the 1977 out of here. Let's get that thing out of the way. Let's get this one slid in. All right, that is ready to go. Cool. Now consult with your HVAC pro. You want this to flow like your old one, so airflow is king. Just double check that and you're good to go. This is an easy DIY project I bet you can tackle.